Welcome to the practical guide of making pattern with CLO. And it's a beginner guide. Hi everyone, my name is Vivek. I'm the founder of Learn 3D Fashion platform. I have taught more than 3,000 students from 10 plus countries who comes from brands like Harvard, Nike, FIT, UAL, and much more. So I have a pretty good understanding of how pattern making works. Also, like how do you get started with pattern making? Because I think this is one of the biggest topic. If you are learning CLO, you need to understand pattern making. Okay, so it's a pretty difficult topic and also a very important topic. Okay, so I can help you out. Just wait. So I think first thing, like there are 5 stages to 3D fashion. Okay, if you don't know what are those stages, I'll link a description video and I have explained all these stages. Okay, different stages. So there are 5 stages to 3D fashion. First stage is called modeling, second is finishing, texturing, rendering, and animation. These are the 5 different stages to 3D fashion. And understanding these 3D stages becomes very important because you get to know that in which stage you are in, right? And what are the like different topics that you need to kind of master, right? To get really nice rendered images out of it. So the pattern making comes under the stage called modeling. Okay, in the modeling stage, what you do basically is you have a basic shape, you convert that basic shape into a desired shape. So you use pattern making concept to do that. Also, how do you create that basic shape, right? That is also there. So again, so to create the basic shape and then to manipulate that basic shape, you have to learn pattern making. Now, there are a few softwares that you can start learning with. You can do 3D modeling, right? So first is CLO, Marvelous, very like it's a very prominent software. Second is Browseware, Optitex, Tucatec, Style 3D, whatever you want, right? At the end of the day, all these softwares are about 3D modeling and how you can convert your pattern into the 3D space and you can visualize those patterns. Okay. So the two topics that becomes very important in the space of learning, modeling, and pattern making is first is garment construction, right? So you need to understand that different garments are constructed in different ways. So for example, knitwear, different, woven different, even their patterns are different, okay? So understanding the different kinds of garments, understanding the different kinds of working, right? How those garments are constructed, right? That is important. Second piece is the pattern making. So second piece that becomes important is pattern making. So you need to understand how to create a basic pattern, then how to manipulate that basic pattern. Suppose if you want to insert a pleats, right? So you cannot insert just like 3 pleats anywhere or with doing anything, right? So you need to take proper measurements. You need to understand, okay, what's the total consumption of the fabric that's going to happen on that area, right? Then based on that, you're going to make the pleats, attach those pleats. See, sometime what happens, this also that suppose we have a dart, right? So we can use darts to make pleat, right? So we can use that space also. So there are different concepts in pattern making to manipulate your base patterns. Okay, so those things becomes really important. So now, like I've established, right? Why do you need to understand 3D pattern? Like why do you need to understand pattern making? So how to get started with pattern making? Okay, for beginners. So first thing is get a great book. Okay, like there is no alternative for this. Okay, do not Google things. Means do it later. Okay, first get a book. Very important. So, so get a book. Like I have recommended 3 books here, right? Pattern Making by Helen Joseph Armstrong, great book. Second is Metric Pattern Cutting for Women's Wear, and the third is Pattern Magic by Nakamichi. So, I would like start with pattern making with fashion designer, or if you have any other methodology that you follow, if you're a college student. So if you're already following a book, that's great, perfect, good to go. You don't need to, right? But Pattern Magic is a book that you can follow later also. You don't need to follow it right now. So these are the 3 books that you can have and you can start working with. Now let's try to also understand what are some important, very important topics in terms of pattern making. What I am going to try doing is like I'm going to try to give you an structure, right? What you need to follow, how you need to start, and help you get start with it, right? And then you can take it forward, things forward from there. Okay. So some of the very important topics of pattern making is understanding the basic terminologies. Okay. So you need to understand right? What is a center front? What is a center back? What is the side seams? What is a dart? What is a dart leg? What is a bust point? What is a dart point? What is a dart intake? All these terminologies you need to understand. Okay. Once you understand the terminologies, for example, fabric also, what's the width of the fabric, what's the selvage of the fabric, like what is the bias of the fabric, because we use bias for creating different parts, right? So you need to understand these different terminologies of fabric. The second thing that becomes important is understanding the size chart. Every book that you will have a size chart, okay? So what does the standard size chart mean? That the standard measurement basically, for creating a pattern, you need two things. You need one thing. You need an avatar or a bodice, right? So you need an avatar of a particular size, okay? So what the standard chart gives you is the measurements of that standard avatar or a bodice, okay? Now, again, I know that the CLO avatars are not that customizable, but again, you have companies like Avalon, right, which provides you customized avatars. So that's fine. Okay, one thing, guys, look, please don't make things complex for you, okay? Makes things simpler, right? Because you're here to learn pattern making, not the avatar. Like, how do you edit the avatar so you get the perfect shape? How do you get a human-like avatar? We're not here to do that right now. Okay, later on you can do that. Right now we are here to learn pattern making. So don't make things complex. If there are some values that are not changeable, change your patterns accordingly. Okay. Don't like try to get into the details of avatar. So the standard measurement chart is about getting the avatars or the basic borders, right? So now based on this, you're going to put these values in the avatar. You're going to change your avatar, and you need to understand, right? What are the values, like which are the values? So for example, what is a bust, what is a waist, what is the abdomen, hip, all these things, right? And then based on that, you need to create your basic borders. So let's understand what's a basic, in a basic draft pattern, right? What are there? So there's a center front, there's a dart, there's a side seam, shoulder, right? And how do you come up to these measurements, right? So quickly, I'm going to show you a simple draft in the CLO, right? So you can create patterns, you can trace those patterns, you can add those patterns too, and you can see how it looks in 3D. Now you can quickly change these patterns here, and you can see that's the beauty of CLO, right? That you can make the changes here and see it here. Now, once you have made those changes, okay, like once you have created this basic pattern, now how do you manipulate this pattern? Because we are not happy with it, right? We want to be a little bit more creative about it, right? So how do you manipulate the pattern so that you can get to the desired shape? And this is called pattern manipulation in pattern making. And some of the major topics in that is dart manipulation. How do you create pleats, flares, gathers, fullness, yokes, flanks? I've combined few topics, okay, in pattern manipulation, but that's fine. So you need to understand these topics also to manipulate your patterns. Now, the next piece is advice, okay? A very personal advice from mine, because I've taught so many students. I know how it feels to do pattern making for the first time, or if you're not that confident in pattern making, okay? So what I will recommend is that you start with a very simple thing first, okay? So for example, a collar. Before I shown you like how to create a basic bodice, right, pattern, don't do that. Start with a very simple pattern called collar, okay? Because there are just two measurements that you want to do. And I have a second part tutorial in which I'll show you how to make a collar so that everybody can follow it also, right? So start with a collar. Don't complex it. Don't make it complex for you. So start with a collar, then go to sleeve or try something more easier, right? Then you go to the basic borders, then you go to the manipulation and all these things, okay? So start with a simple thing, make it accurate, okay? Make it correct, make it perfect. Start with simple, make it perfect, move on to the next part, okay? So in pattern making, what happens, we pick the most difficult thing, right? We'll pick a basic borders draft, right? Which is going to be difficult. Okay, it's going to take too much of time and you're going to leave it then. So don't do that. Pick a simple thing and then conquer it properly and then move on to the next thing, okay? So I think that's the best advice I can give you for the time being. But I think with this, right, and I'm also going to link this presentation, okay? so that at least you can also go through this presentation, you can understand the topics and all. Okay, or you can rewind also. So the last kind of final advice is this, that you give your learning in a structure. Okay, so first you understand, okay, size chart, then you understand, okay, I need to make like I need to learn the basics of CLO, right? How the editing tools works and all those things, right? Okay, based on this, I need to do these topics. So just write it down, write down like, okay, this week I'm going to do this, next week, next week, next week, next week. Okay, create your own projects, small projects, and keep learning it accordingly. Great. Guys, we are going to see each other in the next part 2, in which I'll show you how to make a collar, right? Conquering the first thing, okay, the collar, and then you can start working with more projects like that. Okay, take care, bye-bye, enjoy life. We'll see each other in the next video. Take care.